This video is about AltraGrips-Lite low profile and what I believe to be the most convenient and unique ice and snow traction devices for shoes and boots on the market. Other ice traction devices require that you remove them before going indoors because spike traction devices will damage floors, and spikeless ice cleats are very slippery on smooth, non-ice and non-snow covered floors. You shouldn't drive wearing most snow cleats. Typical ice cleats are slippery when you step on non-ice or non-snow covered metal objects like sewer grids, manhole covers, or even the metal steps often found on trains and buses. So to be safe, there's a lot of putting on and taking off, and you have to watch where you step. This is what makes the AltraGrips-Lite low profile so unique and so convenient, because you can walk on indoor floors without damaging most of them. They're not slippery. You can drive with them. And the reason you can do that is because there's a 1mm tungsten carbide stud that extends just beyond the tread itself, as you can see there. And what happens is when you come in contact with the floor, both the stud and the tread come in contact with the floor, so you get good traction. Now, as long as you don't, put your weight on it and shimmy it, you're not going to scratch any floor. So you're able to walk in supermarkets, drugstores, through the train station, on or off for buses, on or off the train, without having to take them on or off. And again, because you can drive with them, you don't have to worry about putting them on and taking them off every time you get in and out of the car. So they're extremely convenient. Since the tread and the stud are making contact with the surface, you're also far less likely to slip on anything like sewer grids, manhole covers, or anything like that. So you can walk more carefree. You might be thinking, is 1mm enough to give me good traction on ice and snow? And it's true. I mean, the longer the spike, the better the traction. That just goes without saying. But I have been using these now 2 years exclusively, and I have had absolutely no trouble with traction on ice or snow, packed snow. And another added extra here is that this aggressive tread is good not only on ice and packed snow, but it's also good in deeper snow and slush. The material they use for the tread is actually good on other types of slippery surfaces like animal fats, chemicals, and even just water on a smooth surface. You get excellent traction. Another thing you might be concerned about is, well, maybe I get good traction, but what kind of wear am I going to get if I only have 1mm of the stud available to me? Is that going to wear out quickly? And again, as I said before, I've been using mine for 2 years. I've seen no appreciable wear on the studs. I have another customer that lives in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, who walks every day. I know it's at least 2 miles a day, but they get a lot of ice and snow there, and he says he has had no appreciable wear on his, and that's after 3 years. The fact that you don't have to take them off every time you have to go in someplace makes them the absolute ice traction device of choice for anybody who lives in a city. I mean, you're constantly going in and out, on and off buses, in and out of train stations, in and out of stores. Stepping off curbs, you don't have to worry nearly so much about stepping on that sewer grate that's not ice covered, or that manhole cover as you cross the street. It really is the best thing you can get. The other thing it's good for people who just aren't capable of putting an ice traction device on and off all the time, or just don't want to go through the hassle, because that is the main thing when you own something, that you have to constantly be putting them on and taking them off. You have a tendency not to use them, and then you're at risk. Blind people like this particular device, because not only do they not have to be taking them on and putting them back on and contending with the guide dog, but if you would step on the dog's paw, you're not going to injure it. Policemen like them. because once again they can respond to a call, jump out of the cruiser, have their ice traction device on, so they can negotiate their way into a residence or a place of business, and usually just walk in and handle the situation without having the hassle of either having to take the device off or having a slippery situation when they get inside. Delivery drivers like them because again, you can not only can you go in and out of the store without having to worry about putting them on and taking them off, but you can drive with them. People who work on loading docks like them because they're constantly going inside and outside into in and out of icy and snowy conditions. Another use for them too is people who work in walk-in freezers who are constantly going in and out. They can leave them on because they don't have to take them off. They're not going to damage the floor on the outside of the freezer. Putting them on your shoes is extremely simple. Normally you'd be sitting for this, obviously, but you just take them and put them over the top like this, and I just give it a good tug. I take the strap, pull it back over the heel, up, and they're on there just that simply. And they're on there very securely. And I'm going to show you some of the reasons why they're so easy to put on and why they stay on so well. One of the reasons they're so easy to put on and off is that they have a dual density design. In other words, the material is thinner where it's not subject to a lot of wear, and it's thicker where it needs to be. So for example, on the bottom, it's thicker. In the area where you're not making contact with the ground, it's thinner, so it's easier to stretch. Likewise, up in the top part that goes over the top of your shoe, it too is thinner, so it's easier to stretch and conform to different types of shoes. The heel itself has what's called a dual tab design. That's a patented Jordan David exclusive, and this is helpful for people that may have weakness in their hands, because when they're sitting down, of course, they can take two hands and pull it back and over the back of your shoe. The other thing I wanted to show you is that inside the heel tab itself, there's a ridge, and this fits over the edge between the upper part of your shoe and the shoe sole and keeps it from slipping down. Another Jordan David patented exclusive feature that's very important, and that's that at the base of the heel you'll find a heel spike. Now you look at competing ice traction devices, you won't find that. Now that's important because obviously when you take a step, the first thing that hits the ground normally is your heel. So you immediately get traction. Some ice traction devices require that you walk a little bit flat-footed so that the spikes that are further up the heel come in contact with the surface. The less you have to think about, the less special steps you have to make your ice traction device work, the better, because you're not always going to be thinking about what you're doing. I showed you before, these things definitely stay on. They're very secure, and you'd think there's no way that's going to come off. But it's always a possibility with anything like this. And if you know you're going to be walking through a lot of deep snow, particularly if it's like a very wet snow, there is an optional strap that you can get. And they actually come in a set of 4 straps. And I'm going to show you how that works. You hold the strap so that the shiny side is up, and then you bring it around between the heel tab and the heel, bring it up through the slot, bring it around, and it fastens. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And now you can see I've done the same thing on the other side, and we're going to position them so that they crisscross, and I'm going to show you how that looks on a boot. Then you put the Ultragrips on your shoe like you normally would, and now you have these Velcro straps, and you simply wrap them around like that. And let me fix that a little closer. And now you have something else to hold it on the shoe itself. You can see how it goes on there. And I would just leave them on the shoe, because it's just one more thing to keep them from coming off. And sometimes they may be too long. You can always trim them, but I would only trim them to the largest shoe size, obviously. Very simple. I would, like I said, I would really recommend getting those the Velcro straps. One thing I wanted to mention about the Ultragrips is in selecting the right size. They're more shoe size sensitive than something like a Yak Trax, and for that reason you'll see there's more sizes of AltraGrips-Lite offered for different shoe sizes. But I've found an alternative way of measuring these that seems to work pretty well. And here's the alternative method I recommend. Take the shoe or the boot that you're planning on putting them on and measure the length of the shoe from the tip to the base of the heel. So here we're about 12.5 inches. Then I have a chart where you can compare that length to the length of the different sizes of Ultragrips, and choose the size Ultragrips that's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches longer, or shorter rather, than the length of your shoe. So for example, I would be looking for something in an Ultragrip that would be about 11.5 inches long. And sure enough, when you look at my chart, you'll see that this happens to be a large Ultragrips, is approximately 11.5 inches long. So I would feel comfortable using this size Ultragrips with that particular shoe. And you can see, using that method, I would have selected the large Ultragrips, and you can see it fits perfectly. Good and snug. It's a good fit. I would actually recommend using my method for selecting the right size. They are a little bit more expensive. They're made here in the United States in Horsham, Pennsylvania. But they're extremely durable, and most of us are going to get years, at least 3-4 years of use out of them. And just the convenience alone makes them well worth the price.